Hello and welcome back to another Dead Pixel. I'm your host, Joe, and here with me is the only man I know to have tried every reality show audition in the tri-state area. Uh, my co-host, Nick.
Hey, uh, pro tip, Big Brother is the easiest to get on, but you might have to kill someone. I only had to kill two people. Anyway, I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing all right. Getting over a little cough still. My kid goes to daycare and then comes back with who knows what, and lovingly passes it on to me, and then
Hmm.
it incubates for me for a while, and yeah, that generally is it. So if you see me
Daddy!
jumping off the side of the screen, it's probably because I'm just trying to cough, so you don't see me hacking up a lung. Um,
He's probably like, Daddy! And he jumps on you and just snots all over you.
yeah,
Um,
kid doesn't realize to cover his mouth yet. He's just like, "Rah!" I'm like, oh man, gross.
they are
Uh,
petri dishes of disease.
Yeah, I
But
mean the concept is, they'll what doesn't kill them will make them stronger. But if only it really worked that way.
but whatever doesn't kill them might kill you.
Kill us. Yeah, because they'll evolve faster than we do. I mean, it's all the stem cells, right? Or something.
They have, yeah, stem cells. That's it. They have stem cells in their immune system. I'm sure, yeah.
They got to evolve faster than us, so uh, they came into an unforgiving world.
I guess so. Evolution. I don't know if it works quite that fast, but yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So you're not doing too good. I'm also not doing great. Um, any of our anybody listen to our previous episode will remember that I was talking about possibly contracting COVID um, because my coworker had his wife had recently contracted COVID, tested positive. He was taking a test, and I was like, I guess I hope I don't get it. Well, immediately after we finished our podcast, I began to show symptoms of getting it. I'm talking like literally like 2 hours after we finished the podcast, I began to get feverish, and in fact did contract COVID. I went and got a test, and I was positive for COVID. I'm pretty sure I got Omicron. So I'm definitely the cool kid on the block with that. Um,
you
and
just hope you got it, so therefore you want, if you can get over this one, then you'll be ready. But if you didn't, if you got old school COVID, then you still have something else that can whoop your ass later.
I think no matter what I got, I've got enough immunity, enough antibodies now that I will be able to withstand anything that Mother Earth or a Chinese laboratory can throw at me. I think I'll be okay. But anyway, so I got over it relatively quickly. I just still have a cough randomly. So I too will be shutting off my mic and coughing. I'm not going to be coughing. I'm not going to be going off screen, but I will be muting myself to
Oh, dude,
save
my
the
cough is
listeners.
fucking bad. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the thing is, all I have is a cough. It's no nothing. But mine was just a straight up cold. My kid went. We went took him to the doctor, and they're like, yeah, no, this is nothing to worry about. This is normal kid stuff. Kids will make kids sick, and that's it. So at least I know I don't have anything like that. But welcome to the club. I caught COVID last almost a year ago. It'd have been the end of January last year, and that was before shots and all that stuff, and so there's no immunizations at the time, and we were staying at home. Uh, there was we're working from home at the time. Hadn't gotten grocery or we had stocked up on groceries beforehand, so we were all set. And so we either got it from the mailman, uh, a Amazon package, the one Burger King we got, or more than likely we got it from our kid who went to daycare. Uh,
Yeah, that's it.
but no one claimed it at daycare, so we were the first people to claim COVID, and so they had to shut down the entire kids wing, that his age group, they're like, yeah, that whole section has to be closed for a week. I'm like, oh, dude, that sucks for all those other parents too. Then it's just like, I'm like, there's no way. Someone probably knew their kid was sick and was like, yeah, let's just roll the dice. I really can't afford to like miss work.
Yeah, I mean, you think that, but they might have. It takes like a week for the symptoms to show. So your kid probably had it, you know, after, but before they even knew they had it and was passing it to you.
Yeah.
So it's just how it moves, it just invisibly.
Yeah, we looked out for him. He had a rash, but that was really about it. He was still super energetic. And everything was like situation normal. Just had this body rash, and I'm like, okay, well if that's all he has, then I am fine with that. I felt like I had like a super whoop ass flu that just like, laid me out. So that's what it felt like for me. Just a really strong flu. It just felt that over, the kind where your whole body just aches, and that lasted for about a week. And the other thing that happened to me is I still don't have access to my smell like fully. I have like I it's been 11 months and I still have maybe like 50% of my smell.
You're never getting it
Uh
back, dude.
which is awesome for changing diapers because like I can't, or like I'm holding the kid, I'm like, "Hey, I can't smell." Does he? And I get to hold my child to my wife and be like, "Smell his ass." Like does this, is it a dirty diaper? I can't tell.
Oh, smell his ass.
So I get to be that asshole.
So
You know,
also, I mean, I just wanted to say I'm really glad I didn't go to that party.
yeah, you
Uh,
asked me about that, and I said, "Don't be that asshole." And I'm glad you weren't
and
that jerk.
that was a really good call. I listened back to a little bit of the episode, and yeah, I mean, I was pretty sure I was definitely not going to go, but I'm really glad that you helped me erase all doubt because when I was watching TV later that night and I started to get like feverish, I was like, oh, I'm so glad because it was about 7:30, and that's probably when I would have left for the party. It's about 7:30, and I was feeling that fever. So there's a really good chance I'd have been like, no, it's real, it's real, it's here. But either way, I'm glad I did not infect 50 people. So that was good.
Yeah. Oh, that's that was stand up of you of not being that guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, that's the honest thing is like, just would you have wanted to be infected by that, by means of someone else doing the same thing? And no, you did the cool thing, and yeah, granted you missed out on the party, but you also didn't get everyone else sick. So yay.
Yeah.
Um, no, my wife lost her taste for like a good 2 months,
That
3 months
sucks.
maybe. Yeah, it was about 2 months, I think.
That's
But yeah,
why.
it was really weird because she's like, this all tastes like cardboard, and
Oh,
I'm like, I can't smell, but at least I can still taste. I mean, maybe not to the full extent, but I'm like, I can taste the, mostly salt, I guess. But it's just, uh,
that's
my,
one thing that I was really glad about. And that's one thing I'm glad about, and I'm pretty sure is why and that's why I'm pretty sure I got Omicron because Omicron doesn't knock out your olfactory senses or your sense of taste. So, and I haven't lost it at all. I've been
all
totally
right.
normal.
Yeah, my neighbor went to the hospital for a week.
Ugh,
Actually, almost two. Yeah, straight up hospitalized. So, we had ours at different times, so we know we didn't infect each other. But yeah, that was just it. It was one of those weird things. It's like, yeah, it sucked. And luckily, my kid, turned out okay. Um, but ever since then, when I did get the immunizations, I had like none of the symptoms. Like, people were like, "Oh, dude, the second shot is terrible," blah blah blah, and like no, I'm assuming because I actually caught it originally. Like when I got the shots later, it didn't like I had other than the sore arm that you get kind of, that's it. And I got my booster recently, and I'm like the next day I'm like, dude, I'm feeling just fine. I mean, it hurts when I bring it up or something, or when I pressed. I'm like, oh yeah, yep, there's a bruise, but that was it.
it's good, dude.
So yeah, that's but I had coworkers who hadn't caught it, who whenever they got their immunizations that were like they were laid out. They're like, no, I can't come into work. I just feel like garbage. They're like, why would I get this shot? Like, I'm like, well, it could be worse. You could be out for multiple days because that's kind of luckily I was at home at the time, not in an office or anything like that. So I didn't have to worry about, but when I did catch COVID, that sucked.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So that's, I'm glad you didn't seem to have too big of issues or any, lasting things. So,
No,
but
all in
yeah,
all, it wasn't too bad.
that's, other than that, you make out good for Christmas?
Yeah, I got a couple things. I got a um electric blanket for the freezing cold 70-degree nights here.
Oh, you go fuck yourself, man.
uh,
I've been shoveling snow the last couple days.
it's gonna be it's gonna be 86 on New Year's Day
um, and we're
here.
looking at like 36.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna have a pool party, and no, like I was talking to one of my Canadian friends, just kind of telling them what the forecast was here, and he was like, "It's gonna be -7." I think he said -7 degrees Celsius, because he lives up in Canada where they use that. But oh, no, 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 even better. He said it's currently -22 Celsius in British Columbia, which is where he lives in Canada. So I'm definitely getting off easy. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, what's going to happen? They get sick, frostbite. At least they got the health care for it.
At least they have the health care that will cut off their feet. That's horrible. But besides that, I mean, I didn't really get that much. My my dad got me this SM7B microphone for my birthday last July. So I deserve nothing. I deserve nothing.
Yeah, that is true.
How about you?
Uh,
What'd you get?
what did I get? Oh, um, I my wife surprised me with uh, a trench lighter. it's a it's a little lighter that looks like a mini flask, and it literally has a. I'll show it next time, but it's a bolt. It looks like a screw, a big giant screw, and then you rip it out, and there's like a gear flint in there, and it strikes it because there's a wick in the bolt, and that's soaking in the like lighter fluid, and so when you just rip it straight out, it becomes a match
I see.
essentially. And it's a really neat little thing, and uh, I it's just she got that because I somehow ended up collecting lighters. Uh, I won a bunch of lighters back in the day, and when I was overseas in Japan in high school, I'd play the crane games, and I'd somehow win lighters. I got like a Gundam lighter, a Lupin the Third. Like it's a three-way lighter, which I never knew what that was, and I'm like, a three-way lighter? What's this? And I bring it about an inch to my face, and it's just a little like flip top.
Mm.
So when I went to flip the top, three like 2-inch flames just pop right out. I'm like, shit, and like apparently they're for cigars. Uh,
Oh yeah, you gotta toast it.
yeah, and
Also,
that's but that's that was I got that from there. I ended up getting like a one or two pistol lighters that can get me probably arrested and shot in America because there's no markings on them that indicate that it's a lighter, and they look pretty
just,
good. Um,
just walk up to a police officer and wave it at him. Just wave it at him.
yeah, right.
I did
No orange
forget.
tip, no nothing. Seriously.
I did forget to say that my good friend a few weeks ago did get me some brand new um, earphones, I guess, ear pads for my headphones, because my old ones were rotting, literally rotting on my head as we spoke. So I was definitely very, very glad to receive that. It's definitely been the most useful gift I've received this year by far.
Well, you're welcome. I mean, anyone who stayed to the end of last podcast would have seen that. But yeah, for sure. I'm glad you're able to put them on. And yeah, thank you for your gift. Some Amazon credits, which I'm going to put towards the future games. I'll specifically, what I'll do is I'll probably like, is there a specific 2 player game that you have your eye on? And I'm probably just going to put it straight towards that, because that way we guaranteed to have some good use out of it. Um, it's either that, or I just like I don't know, a bunch of Doritos or something, just to be as stupid as fuck and be like, here's my gift from you,
That was less a gift for you and more a gift for the podcast. So spin it accordingly. No, no, spin it however you want. I mean, it's just if you whatever you need, if you need groceries or whatever, don't feel like you have to spend it on anything for the podcast. You do you,
No, it's
man.
one of those things that I'm most definitely going to be like using it for at least one game purchase. It may not be like necessarily a full price game, but it's just like, it's one of those things that I will use it for a game that I'm like, I have my eye on, but I wouldn't normally have bought it myself, because that's what I think is the best thing with gifts is getting something that you wouldn't get yourself, and that,
Mm,
or that you didn't realize you wanted. That's, give me one.
me too.
Sorry about that. But yeah, I also got a T-shirt from my spouse, which I'll show it to you next time around, because that's a pretty cool fucking shirt.
Okay.
It's like, oh, I didn't know I wanted this one, but I most definitely now do. So yeah, it's she's very good about that. I ended up getting her a bunch of board games. We hadn't. Well,
Okay.
our anniversary is also like right after Christmas, so we
Mm,
have so I and then I went ahead and we hadn't bought a board game in like over 3 years, and so we had Gloomhaven, and that was it. And so because of that, I kind of splurged on Black Friday, and I'm like, well, I got to get you a Christmas gift, and then the kids got to get you a gift too. Yeah, sure, I'll use that excuse.
mm.
And then I'm like, and then there's the anniversary gift. And the kids will get you an anniversary gift too. And
It's
she's like, I didn't think about the kids getting you a gift. I'm like, that's fine.
fu-
They're too young to understand what anything,
You were
anyways.
gonna say dumb. You were gonna say dumb. They're too dumb to understand. It's recorded now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any small child is just a self murder machine. That is the game that you play with them. Is how do I keep you alive, young one?
They
Um,
are trying to kill themselves constantly.
yeah, it is. It's you develop reflexes that you never knew you would have done instinctively. So
Dad
uh,
reflexes. Yeah, that's a thing. It's a thing.
yeah, then look up stepdad reflexes sometime. It's super funny.
I bet it's like,
It's it's the I'm gonna catch you, don't worry, and then all of a sudden I don't catch you and you fall flat. It's the trust fall fails essentially, or accidentally swinging your arm and smashing your kid in the face. Stuff like that.
that's pretty good.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to talking about some games. So today is going to be a special episode. Right now, this is going to be more or less our end of the year game of the year discussion. We're going to go based off of more or less our personal games that we played. We haven't, due to our schedules and our lives, we haven't really coordinated about trying to play the same game. So we're not going to rank them like Another Dead Pixels -- 1 game, nothing like that. It's just us personally, what we played, what we liked. And then, also, I'm thinking what we didn't get a chance to play. So kind of like the wish list that we're going to try to focus on, a little bit next year. So for me, I guess we'll start out with that.
Well, hang on a second.
Um,
Hang on a second. I just want to say that, yeah, like next year we'll probably. It's my vision, at least, to try to formalize it a little bit more and maybe try to have some kind of like official pod ranking system or whatever. But yeah, like, I mean, in a way, we've only been doing this podcast since,
it's episode 8, so 4 months.
yeah, this is the eighth episode. How we break this out, I'm not sure, but this is the actual eighth episode. So yeah, like 4 months, which is a pretty good, little milestone, for us. And I'm just kind of glad that we can celebrate that a little bit, even though it's not even a full year or even a round number. But we can kind of celebrate that and try to talk about some of the games that we've played and kind of, next year we'll have hopefully done it for another full year and we'll have a lot more to pick from and choose from and kind of do that the way a lot of other people do, a lot of other podcasts do. But
Yeah,
anyway,
we'll
I'm
hopefully
just
be able to coordinate a lot better next year amongst each other. But it's one of those things that we also don't have necessarily the same equipment,
yeah, it's true.
So we both have computers and PCs, but I have the PlayStation, which turns out I played a lot of last year, and so that's actually where most of my gaming took place.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
will be getting at least I will be getting a PS5 this year. So help me God, but well, it's just good to get to this kind of a point and be able to talk about and celebrate some of the games that we played. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. So after you, Joe.
all right. Well, there's a few games that I didn't get to last year that I wish I did, and I'm gonna do my darndest to touch those all next year. And I guess the first one I'm gonna start out with is I really wanted to get a time to play the new Forza, the
Mm,
Forza Horizon 5, is it?
it is.
Uh, yeah, and the location of Mexico sounded really cool. I've seen nothing but good reviews on it, and I haven't gotten to play. Uh, I did play a racing arcade racing game last year, which really got me hungry for this kind of game. I ended up playing the Need for Speed Hot Pursuit remastered, and it's I actually got it from my my father-in-law, and we like that really scratched an itch that I hadn't had in a long time because I forgot how much arcade racers can be fun. Because the
Mm,
only thing I've played as far as racing goes of late would be like a Mario Kart, and that's fine. It's a great game, but I miss those old type of Need for Speed games, and that one was particularly awesome. And since I missed out on the Xbox One line of, I had a 360, and that was the last Xbox game, so I never got to touch any of the Forza games after that. And yeah, so the Horizon has really come a long way, and I'm really interested about that. And I know you've been able to play that bit, so yeah, we'll see if that made it on your top list at all. But yeah, that was the first game that on my list that I really want to get to.
okay.
How about you? Do you got?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to talk about these for too long because some of these are I wanted to play them, but not really all that bad, I guess, or else I would have found a way. Um, kind of low on the list. It was Returnal. That was pretty widely touted early on in the year.
Yeah, by Housemark. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I don't have a PlayStation right now, so I think it's only on that. So I wasn't able to play it. It looked interesting. I did look at some video of it, and I was like, okay, but I can kind of live without it. Um, and then I'll just kind of run through a couple others here.
Oh yeah, go for it, man.
Um, uh, uh, Resident Evil Village. I wanted to play that. Not again, not too bad. Um, it just kind of seems sort of interesting. I'm a scaredy cat when it comes to games, but the newer Resident Evils don't seem quite, at least this one didn't seem, honestly, Village didn't seem scary at all to me, but maybe it would have been, I don't know. But yeah, so that one also kind of low on the list. Um, another one on the list is It Takes Two, which I was not interested in playing at all, but it seems to be winning, a lot of Game of the Year stuff. And I've watched some gameplay on it, and I really don't understand why it's winning so much. Um, but I hope to make you play that with me.
Sure.
It's
Let's totally play that. I mean, I'm currently having fun with A Way Out with with a buddy of mine, and I played their first game, A Brother Tale of Two Sons,
mm,
Brother's Tale of Two Sons, and that one a lot of people had accolades for. A lot of people really talked highly of it, and I thought it was kind of meh.
yeah.
And that's so I can understand with you coming at this one being like, I don't understand it. Like, so I'm curious if it lives up to the hype that a lot of people are giving it because yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about It Takes Two.
Yeah, yeah. So that one, those are kind of three that I want to play, but didn't really make the time for them. But I've got a couple more. But I'm gonna let you go again, and then I'll wrap up with the kind of the main
Yeah,
three that I really wanted to play this year.
yeah, I totally agree with you with It Takes Two and Returnal. I would love to play it. Unfortunately, I don't have a PS5 either, so I didn't even consider that one as on my list because I'm not going to get a PS5 until um,
The price makes
probably
sense again.
I I probably at this rate I'm probably not going to get one until my guess is 2023 because that's probably when they're going to come out with a new rendition.
Oh yeah.
At least that's my prediction. Is they'll come out with there's a small chance they'll come up with a new one at the end of this year, but because of supply chains, I'm betting 2023. They'll come up with a smaller form factor or at least one with a bigger hard drive, and that's when I'll their quote unquote pro model because that's what I did with the PS4. I didn't get the PS4 until the Pro came out, and then I went ahead and bought that one instead. Um, I'm willing to wait, and
Oh yeah.
especially now that Sony's starting to bring things out to PC more, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I personally would like to buy both the one that the launch whatever and then whatever upgrade that they have, but yeah, like I mean I'm like if you don't have to play one of their exclusives, which really only Final Fantasy I think is the only exclusive these days that I feel like I have to play. But and that like if you don't have to play their exclusives, then yeah, save your money and wait till the price makes more sense.
yeah, and another one. Uh, Most of these things are on my list. Luckily, are available thanks to Game Pass.
Yeah,
So
lifesaver.
that's why they're on my list because I'm like, oh, I want to play these. I just don't have time. Um, and currently, Halo Infinite is that
Oh yeah.
I like the campaign. I really want to do multiplayer because that's how I personally. That's how all my memories are tied with that game is playing with one or up to four people through the campaign, having a good time with friends, and usually playing it on the hardest difficulty because you're with your buddies and it makes it you know it kind of dumbs down the challenge when you're with your friends. Um, so I really want to do Halo. I'm actually willing to try the multiplayer. So I'm like, whenever you're up for that, I'll go in on that one with you.
Yeah,
There's
yeah, for sure.
uh, another one on there is Scarlet Nexus. I had it downloaded.
Oh yeah.
It's just the icon is right there. I just haven't gotten around to it because I don't have the time to take to invest in a lengthy game like that. So instead, I'm watching the anime.
Just watch the anime.
Exactly. It's like the abridged version.
Yeah.
No, the game looks phenomenal. I liked it from the first look. I heard it plays a little slower than expected, but other than that, and then after the first couple hours, they say then it really picks up. Which a couple hours just to get through the intro, that's a little bit of a time sink that I can't afford either. Uh, so that's why it's on my wish list. Yeah, and then one again, a late game that came out this year was Record of Lodoss Wars. Deedlit in Wonderland. It is a Metroidvania style game. It's one that I remember getting announced in Japan a while ago, and I completely forgot about. And it recently just came out, and everyone's like, "Wow, this is the Metroidvania game that's actually like competent." Um, it's not like groundbreaking, but it's a solid game. So I'm a huge Record of Lodoss Wars fan. Um, it's for those of you who don't know what it is. It's an anime manga. It's based off of a D&D module, I believe, originally. So it has the whole archetype, and it came out. The original anime came out early '90s, I believe, or something like that. And you have your knight, your elf, your cleric, dwarf. You have your whole archetype, your thief, and so that's kind of what my first introduction to that whole D&D slash high fantasy world was. So they were showing that
Mm.
on the Sci-Fi Channel, while I think Cartoon Network was like, "Here's the original Hobbit cartoon," and like that garbage animation style, and I'm like, "This looks like hot trash," especially when you compare it to Record of Lodoss Wars, and so therefore my first um, anything of Lord of the Rings wise, I'm like, wow, that's that garbage thing, right? And then all my friends are like, no, it's great. You got to do the book. I'm like, I saw the cartoon. That cartoon was garbage. So
Sucks compared to Record of Lotus War.
yeah, it was just like it was really good. So I've been a fan. It hits my nostalgia factor that like, oh, this franchise that hasn't had anything come out in the U.S. forever has finally a new game that's a little on the smaller side. But I'm also a really big fan of Metroidvania style games.
Hmm.
So I will most definitely pick that up and give that a shot because currently it's on sale on Steam. So that is something that I do want to play next year. That's pretty much it for me. I mean, so yeah, why don't you finish up what you want to play?
So, I mean, I did touch Scarlet Nexus, um, but I kind of bounced off of it because it seemed really similar to another game that I have on here that I'll get to in a second. But um, I guess pretty high on my list, and I really almost bought this game a couple different times, was Monster Hunter Rise. Um, I've been wanting. I mean, I have played a little bit of the of Monster Hunter World, and that's kind of the reason why I didn't really pick this up is because Monster Hunter World's supposed to be like the better game, I guess. Um,
It was a really good game. We got into it, like we being like people that friends of mine that would never have touched the game otherwise. They're like, "Fuck Monster Hunter, I'm not going to get into that." And my spouse and I and two of our other friends, we really got into it hard. It's a grind that usually It's a game I wouldn't play. I don't want it just for the loot. I want a story. I don't want to just play the game for a grindy factor. But it was something about the game and playing with friends made it worth it.
yeah, and
So
see, that's kind of
totally.
why I didn't ever jump on it because I don't know, I don't really have a squad that I know is gonna want to play. Maybe when the next one comes out or at some point in the future we can get that going, but it just wasn't to be really. Um, and then I one I really wanted to play this year because I played the previous two was the new Hitman that came out back at last January, I think. Hitman 3. Um, have you ever played the new Hitman games?
Yeah, I played the first one. I didn't. I never got around to playing the second one.
I played a ton of the first one and less of the second one. But they're really good games. I mean, something about them kind of just gets in your blood and they're just really really just cool and kind of captivating. And I heard this third one was like they pulled out all the stops and it's like really great. It's
Yeah, two ended with a really good. Two had DLC that had a story. The story apparently was really awesome, and it left it kind of left it for three. So a lot of people were like, "Oh, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I can't wait for the next Hitman game for the story."
Yeah, I mean the
So
story was like it was always fine. It was good or whatever in the first one. The second one I didn't finish, but I did hear about it, and I did hear that they kind of you know uh, beefed it up a little bit, and from what I played, it seemed that way. The levels were great, and in the second one, and I'm like I've got to play the third one at some point. So it's on sale all the time now. I'll probably I don't know, probably play it sometime before the middle of next year, and then we'll just see how that goes. But I'm excited to play that one as well. I really wish I
those
had a
guys are
chance.
making a James Bond game actually, as currently. So that's going to be super cool.
Yeah, which I think is freaking perfect. I mean, I I'm definitely going to be like day one for that game. I'm definitely going to be day one for that game because good or bad, I just have to see what they do with it
Yeah.
because it's perfect. Match made in heaven. And then finally, and this is a game I'm like was really debating of starting this past weekend. And kind of the reason I didn't play Scarlet Nexus is because I have Tales of Arise. I purchased it recently on a Steam sale, and I've been really wanting to play that a lot. Anime JRPG. Uh, it's supposed to be really great. I'm just excited to play it. It's long. It's like 50 hours. So it's definitely gonna be something I'm gonna be working on in the background, and then I'll probably pull it out and talk about it on the podcast at some point. But that is even more than Hitman. I really am wanting to play that, and I own it, so I spent money on it. So I'm definitely going to be playing it at least a little bit, at least for probably 20 hours or so minimum, just to see what it's like. But yeah, that's my list, and I'll be looking forward to getting to some of that at least next year.
Tales, yeah, the Tales games have always been solid. Well, mostly. I got into them really early on, and then I kind of dropped off later for a large while. But yeah, Scarlet Nexus team is the part of a lot of heritage from the Tales games. So yeah, I'm kind of curious about that. I haven't actually. I kept myself in the dark for the Tales of Arise, mainly because the last couple Tales games have been a little lackluster. That's
I think
like Tales of Basara or something like that was
Berseria.
or yes, that one. It was like apparently that one wasn't as like it got a lot of hype and then it kind of fizzled out. Um there was I got into the Tales game maybe two Tales before that one, which it was like a part one and part two, and I cannot remember the name of them anymore. But yeah, the original Tales of Fantasia and Tales of Destiny on the PlayStation 1. Tales of Fantasia was a Super Nintendo game or Super Famicom. You know, those games are super neat, especially since you are like on a 2D plane. And it was like like I remember playing that and being like, telling a friend, it's like Street Fighter, but an RPG. And it's like really weird because you're running back and forth and your enemies are off screen. And then you like, yeah, and you were able to play two player. And that was super cool to play like an RPG multiplayer. And it's just like that was unheard of, you know, back then for the most part. So that was like what made that game super good. And then of course Tales of Symphonia for the game Cube pretty much put the GameCube as far as RPG wise on the map. Um,
I
so
actually recently watched a video on YouTube of this guy who was talking about how great Tales of Symphonia was, and he laid it out, and like there's a remaster or something on
yeah,
Steam that looks pretty nice. It's not something I'm going to play, but it was at least interesting to listen to somebody kind of chat up that game and talk about how like big of a thing it was, because I remember seeing it, but I never had a chance, and I even had a GameCube, but I never reached out for it back when it was popular.
yeah, it's totally it was one of those time and place things, but it it uh, it birthed a whole new set of fans for the whole series. So then it kind of like I said hit some hard waters, but lately it seems to be doing better. And so this last one, I've heard nothing but good things about it, but I actually don't know anything about story wise or nothing.
Yeah,
So I'm curious about to get your takes on Tales of Arise.
it's
All right,
get like eights and nines, so
yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, I'll have you start us off with because you have quite a few games on your game of the year list, so I'll let you kick us off with I guess do you have them in any specific order, or is this just
Yeah, I mean, we'll kind of get to that. I I did play quite a few old games, but like games from previous years, but never any that I just feel like I've got to talk about. I guess I mean at least none that I've played enough where I feel comfortable talking about them, and a lot of these I will be playing in next year, so I'll talk about them next year, if they're good enough for that. Um, Early this year, I was playing a lot of Magic the Gathering, or Magic Arena rather. Um, I spent a lot more time playing that in 2020 and maybe even 2019. Um, but I did play it a little bit, and it's a good game. It's a great game. It's probably the best way to play Magic as an intro. Um, but for some reason, the card sets just didn't really grab me, so I didn't really play that too much. Um, and then I played 12 minutes this year, and I hated it, but I played it. And I just wanted to. I know we don't really have a worst game of the year segment, but I would like to nominate 12 minutes for worst game of the year. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Uh,
Okay, I'll counterpoint that with I played Cyberpunk,
okay.
and I would like to nominate that for my worst game of the year.
That's
Um,
fair.
because it took me like 100 gigs to download on my PlayStation, and then every time it patched this ginormous motherfucking thing, and yeah, it was the game was kind of broken. So what I did
Kinda.
was I found broken in a lot of ways, and so in order to make it fun for me, I found a way to duplicate items, and I got myself at least a bunch of money in the beginning. I wasted a bunch of time getting a bunch of money, but I'm like now I don't have to worry about money, and you know what? That's all right by me. Uh, no, that the game actually seemed like the story kind of started going places that I enjoyed. Just the mechanics and the actual gameplay itself was hot garbage.
I mean, it
Um,
won game of the year for some places. So,
yeah,
yeah,
shills. I don't know.
yeah, they probably are on the CD Project Red payroll.
Was it
Um,
GOG's top game of the year? Right? No,
Probably, yeah.
because CD Project owns them. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the joke there. Yeah, I just wanted to say I hated 12 minutes again, and that's all I have to say about that. Other games I played, The Ascent. You and I both played that. I played this for I don't know 4 or 5 hours, something like that. I enjoyed what I played of it. I thought it was probably a little bit too glitchy, um, and I wanted to move on to other things, so I just kind of jumped off of it. But it was good. I'd actually like to see a second try from this team, um, and see what else they could do, even with just the same universe or the same cyberpunk
their sequel
aesthetic.
will be awesome.
The
That's what
sequel
I think.
the sequel will probably be. I'm not going to sit here and say awesome, but it'll probably be much better because there's definitely some good bones there. But yeah, so I played the Ascent and enjoyed it, but it bounced off. Um, Kind of another one in this kind of hodgepodge list is Back for Blood. You and I also both played quite a bit of that. Um, I enjoyed it, but I really wouldn't have played it for very long if I hadn't played it with friends. So to me, it was less the game doing that and more, playing with you guys and having fun with that. It just wasn't, it just didn't grab me in, by itself for what it was. But it wasn't bad. I did enjoy it, but it was definitely not enough to make my top five of the year. Another game that I played it, but I wish I'd played more of it is Guilty Gear Strive. Um, I really enjoyed playing this game, but it's difficult and it took a lot of practice even before I started playing it against other people. So I really am hoping I'm going to get to play this game a lot more in the coming year and hopefully be able to talk about how great it was in 2022. And because they have a lot of stuff planned, but there's also a bunch more fighting games coming out, so it may get pushed out. We'll just have to see. Um, Finally, before we get into my top five, is a game that I definitely would win the old game of the year category for me. I played back in the summertime. I played Near Automata, and I'd played it some in previous years, but I made a point to finish it. And the point at which I was starting on Near Automata was basically at the 20-hour mark, which is right when it like really gets going. And uh, it really did. It was pretty amazing game. I really enjoyed it. It does a lot of things that I don't know, like a lot of other games on the list. You could potentially make a movie out of, and it would be like, okay, you're getting the basic story and stuff like that. But with Near Automata, it's one of those games that has to be a game. It just couldn't be anything else. It has to be a game because of how it plays and what it's trying to tell you. And for that, not a lot of games really accomplish that. And so I definitely want to hold it up here as like being best old game because for me at least because it was really great. Anyway, so that's all I've got to say about games that are not in my top five. So I'm gonna kick it over to you, Joe. Take it away.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I got a chance to play a few older games as well. So I mentioned it before. I am a fan of the library. The library is able to, that's
Yes.
one of the reasons why I play my PlayStation 4 so much, is because they get the discs in, and I don't have to, keep on buying all these new games. Um, so some of the ones that I did play last year uh, were actually a few VR games. And like VR is always it's a little bit hard to have the time to play those because I literally have to isolate myself, and so it's usually like a late at night thing, where the kids sleep and stuff like that, and they're little shorter experiences which I like, and I got to play both Rick and Morty, yeah, was it Rick and Morty, virtual Rickality, and that is a they sum it up in the beginning as a like a laundry sim. um, and it's very well written. If you like Rick and Morty, their sense of humor, it's impressive. The a lot of side dialogue they have. It's a simple experience. But it was a lot of fun. And the same team, same creator, made Trover Saves the Universe, and that one is more of a fuller game. And that one was also really enjoyable. I was surprised how much I actually liked it. Uh, it was now I wouldn't, these are a little bit older, so that's or at least I believe they're quite a bit older. So that's why they're not my top five, but totally worth a shot if you have VR and if you like that sense of humor.
Hmm.
If you don't, then obviously don't play it. I got around to playing Blood and Truth as well, which is VR, and that is uh, it's the it's like the closest thing you have to an action movie, like kind of it's UK based ish. So you have the Cockney accents and stuff like that. It's car chases, gunplay. It's like playing an action movie. That's a really well done game. So I totally had a good time with that, and it's all thanks to like local libraries and stuff like that. Um, and yeah, those were about the main ones that I got the chance to really enjoy. Like I said, thanks to the library as well, I got to play Cyberpunk, and I got to waste my time on that. Uh, there's a sick part of me that really wants to just go through the story because I actually did enjoy the story. Got interesting actually. It's just like I just can't slog through the mechanics to do it. So that'll probably be, I don't know, 2023 maybe, when they finally get it all. They come out with their enhanced edition like they usually do with you know uh, the Witcher games. They usually always come out with like their enhanced versions of those. And uh, yeah, that's really it on there. I did get to play one other game, a racing game that that Need for Speed, and that's it's an older game as well, but it's still just as fun, honestly. So if you have a PlayStation and you don't want so you don't have access to the Forza, but you want an arcadey style game, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered, that was most definitely an enjoyable game. So I'd recommend that. So yeah, now I guess up to the top five. So do you want to go ahead and you do one, I do one? For me,
Yeah.
I don't have it listed for myself as like this is my number one game. It's just my top five. It's mostly my top three. They're like interchangeable. So that's kind of the way I look at it for myself.
Okay.
But all right, I'll kick us off. So
Hang on a second. Actually, I did want to kind of. I thought I was going to go first, so I wanted to interject
oh
this.
yeah, go right ahead,
No,
man.
no, 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 no. This is not actually. I just thought of this because I had thought of this earlier, but I think it's kind of interesting. I just want to throw a shout out. I just wanted to I guess, praise Xbox Game Pass for this year. Just, I mean, as platforms go, Xbox Game Pass has been unbelievable. Just the deals, the games that come to it, straight away, and you're just paying $10 a month or $15 a month if you're splurging. It's it's a massive, amazing deal, even better than Steam sales of the past. So I just wanted to kind of recognize them, what they've been doing, and say more power to them and to keep going.
Yeah. And so for those who've heard us before, we talk highly about Game Pass. Obviously, we're not sponsored by them or anything because we're nobodies. But
But if they want to sponsor us,
yeah, well, I already have my next 2.5 years worth already, but that's because for those who don't have it, who are interested in it, uh, what I would recommend doing is getting Xbox Gold cards, which are like usually $60 for Xbox Gold. And what you do is you can do up to 3 years. So what I did is I went to, I think it was Costco, and they had it for like a 1 year card for like 50 or $55 or something like that. I bought three of them straight out the bat. So for roughly for less than $180, I ended up having I logged in all my cards, and then I went ahead and accessed when I went ahead to register onto Game Pass. It's like, oh, you have gold, you have 3 years of gold. Would you like to transfer them for like $1? And I'm like, sure. So they did my 3 years of gold, transferred it straight to Game Pass Ultimate. Um, and it only cost me $1 to do that transfer plus the 180, which Game Pass Ultimate is $15 a month. That gives you the PC and the Xbox game coverage, and it also gives you EA access, or is it EA Play now? It gives you the base version of that,
yeah,
and it gives you some mobile stuff if you want their streaming, Xbox's streaming stuff, which I have not tried on my phone or nothing like that. But yeah, it gives you a lot of crap. And for me, I did it for the cost of like a little over like a year and a half or something like that, because $15 a month, so I paid 180 for 3 years, essentially.
yeah. So like, what would you have paid for 3 years?
Um, well, if you're looking at it that way, it's what, 15 a month, so times 12, 30, so
And then
30 times
times
6, 6, 12, 18. So that's 1 year. 1 year's 18, so 180. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4,
times 3 years.
4. Yeah.
So
Yeah, times three.
180
So
times 3 years is that? So 180 per year, and then times 3 years, that's 540.
mhm.
So, and then you paid how much for it,
I paid less than 180 because I paid less than 60
dude?
bucks a card.
Yeah, they're gonna find out and they're gonna sue you for robbery because you just. It's a great deal. It's a great deal.
And then for those of you who like, oh, but I already did their, like, that's the thing, is if you did their 1 month free or something like that, or if you paid $1 or something like that, and then it won't let you do it because they'll
Mm,
do just a transfer, like, oh, you spent $60 on the 1 year card. Well, we'll let you transfer it, which would be 15, but dollar equivalent. So it'll be 15. It'll give you 4 months exchange. So what you have to do is you can only do it with a brand new account. And so the loophole behind that is you just make a new email, make a new account, do that, and then make that as your parent account, and then you can sign in under your normal gamer tag under like a family member,
mm-hmm.
and then you have access. So that's what happened. That's how my spouse. Well, we do the actual family thing. So she has access because on her computer, I have it as mine as the primary, and hers is secondary. So she can actually still. We were able to play like State of Decay, which shout outs to that because that was a lot of fun last year too. Um,
Oh
I
yeah, we
had
played
fun
some
with
of
it
that.
just because playing with friends. Playing it solo, I don't know how much fun I'd have, but that was a good time last year for sure.
Yeah, I might have to do that because those are some pretty good savings. I mean, 540, basically $540 worth for 180 is pretty great. Anyway, so I just want to talk about that a little bit, and yeah, so cool. Well, we can get on with the top five. You want me to go first? I can, or you can if
Go
you.
right ahead.
All right, so kind of jumping off of Game Pass. Uh, 2 or 3 days ago, I started playing Forza Horizon 5, and I jumped into this game kind of thinking I need to play this because this has made a lot of game of the year lists as well. And I haven't played a racing game in years. The last racing game I remember putting any time into was Gran Turismo 3,
Yeah,
whichever
3 A spec, I think it was.
whichever one was for the PlayStation 2, because
Yeah,
I
that was 3.
think that was 3. Yeah. I remember I put time into that, and that was the last time, and that was decades ago. um, so I hadn't played a serious racing game. I mean, I've built around with like Mario Kart or something at someone's house, I'm sure at some point, but I hadn't played a serious racing game in a long time. So I wanted to load this one up, and um, it was awesome immediately. They start you out with a bunch of with several different cars. They give you a taste of everything, and then they put you on the road. And just driving around in those cars is just great. The feel of it is awesome. The the graphics, even on an old card, the graphics are great. The music is all right, but I finally got into some races, and I forgot how good it feels to just race, man. Kind of one of the more pure gaming experiences is just racing cars and just getting there first. Um, and I got into some races last night, and lost bad, and then did the same race again and got really close. I think I got third, and then I did it again and got first. And I was like, man, that's such a satisfying feeling to learn the course and get it all like just right. And I'm really looking forward to playing it some more. Honestly, it's kind of my palate cleanser for playing harder games and then jumping to Forza Horizon 5 and just kind of let the hours go by as they do pretty quickly while I'm playing that game. So definitely snuck into my top five. Surprised me. I thought, dang, how good can a racing game be in 2021? But apparently they're pretty awesome. So Forza Horizon 5, number 5 on my list.
All right. Yeah, most definitely. Like I said, I need to get to playing that next year. I downloaded it and it was like 120 gigs or something like that, and it's been on my computer for like the last month and a half.
I just saw it
I
again. It's
just yeah.
138 gigs.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, geez.
ridiculous.
Yeah, I just no time to really dive into it. But yeah, so my number five, uh, it's like I said, the 5 and 4 kind of meh, like interchangeable. So I'm gonna say mine was actually Back for Blood.
Mm,
Um, so the reason why Back for Blood gets so high on my list is because um, the game itself is fun. I wish the story was there because there is story, but it's so presented so shittily. It's it's character dialogue, so whoever's hosting is generally the one who gets most of the dialogue, and it's so like in the background that you're usually killing things, yelling, talking to your friends, and you can't actually hear what they're talking about. So there is an actual story, but you have to really look for it.
yeah.
But the reason why it's so high on my list is because, or it actually made it to my top five, was I had a really good time playing with my friends. I actually had uh, three, four crew members, like four groups of people that I'd interchange with. And it was a couple of us who were in each group, but that was really a good thing because it's like, all right, we'd play like, every other day or something like 5 days a week almost. It was just get home. We had an hour, maybe an hour and a half to play before bed, jump on and be like, okay, who's available? Okay, cool. We got this time this, like, oh, someone so can't make it. Well, don't worry, we got someone else to jump in. So I was running multiple campuses. Like, okay, so you were here last time, so all right, we'll jump onto that mission that you were on. And we didn't really mind that we had to reset our decks or anything like that, but it was really fun just to hang out with my friends and all played something together. I haven't felt that like group mentality to play together for a while
Yeah.
with that many people. I mean, like I've had, like I said, dedicated groups for Monster Hunter or something like that, but just to have so many people willing to jump in and at any given time and just be like, yeah, I'm looking for a group, and we're all playing the same game.
Yeah, I
So
mean, yeah, you were definitely playing it a lot. I was jumping on a couple times a week sometimes. That game kind of just, it was part of the zeitgeist for like a minute because it was on Game Pass. It was brand new. It reminded people of the old Left 4 Deads, and it played well and stuff like that. So it was definitely one of those games everybody wanted to kind of just jump in and have some fun, and it served that purpose really well.
yeah, it was a good month for me and my groups. We ended up, yeah, we played it really hard for a while, and never did beat it because we ended up starting it so often.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but it was just a lot of fun, and I just having something to all play together because it almost brought me back to the old Left 4 Dead's as well, but I'll just that kind of mentality over like old Gears of War or something, or like Halo, those old multiplayer things where like you and all, quite a few of your coworkers, you're all like really heavily interested in this one game, and you're just like at any given time you're just all playing together. So it reminded me of that, and that's why I had a really good time with it. It was just it's all a game. It's just I wish it had a story that was like good, or like cutscenes or something like that. But as far as being a thing to play with your friends, I assume it's I never played Destiny, but I assume that Destiny plays that role for a lot of people.
I
But
think
Destiny
so.
actually
Yeah.
has story. So that's I just never had friends that were really interested in it. So no one was interested in it. So neither was I. But I've heard a lot of people get like that. So yeah, that was Back for Blood was my number five. Um, yeah,
Yeah, people do love their Destiny. So yeah, so number four, um, little indie game came out for PC and Switch, uh, Eastward. I really loved the idea of Eastward, and I loved the aesthetic. The art is just fantastic. A lot of the characters in it are really sweet and endearing. The music in it is also amazing. The soundtrack is. I listened to that like I listened to that a couple times just by itself. And there's some bangers on there, some really great tracks. Um, this game would be higher on my list if it did not test my patience. It's very talky. It's kind of in love with its own voice, with its own story, which is good, but it's not great. Um, I have not finished it. I think I'm at the last boss. I'm about 25 or so hours in. It feels like the last boss, but I've heard this game should be about 30, between 30 and 35 hours. So I don't know how I got to it so fast. I don't know what I missed, but um,
it's a fake ending. It's gonna be the rug's gonna get pulled out, and then it's like then you got the back half.
yeah, and I got the back half. I That would be horrible because there's not enough left in this game for it to last more than another. I would give it 2 or 3 more hours if you really wanted to push it, but this game is over. I need to finish it, and I will. I just can't bring myself to for some reason or another. I guess I've been playing other stuff, but it's just it would be higher. It really would if this game was, if you rushed it and you could get it done in 15 hours. Then and if you played it slow, you're 20 hours. Then I think the game would probably be about perfect. But being 25 hours in, it's just a little bit too long-winded, and it doesn't really say enough with the story. I think they had a good opportunity to uh, make some things a little bit more poignant. Um, Maybe throw some things in there about, I don't know, that were a little bit more concrete about, I don't know, universal themes like family or friendship. Some anime theme, sure. I would have liked that a little bit more because they definitely have the time. They definitely had the writing ability. I think they just played it a little bit too safe. Still, great game. Really enjoyed it. And if you can pick it up, I do recommend it. At least playing a good portion of it for a discounted price. But yeah, that's it. Number 4 for me, Eastward.
All right. Um, all right. So for me, it's gonna be all right. On the PlayStation, this is gonna be a VR experience again. Uh, I got around to getting a Synth Rider.
Oh yeah.
Synth Rider was a or is a rhythm game, uh, VR music rhythm, where you use the Move controllers as essentially like boxing gloves, or like pom poms, I guess, however you want to say it, to hit the notes as they
Let's
go
be
by.
real.
Um, though it is a lot more intense than at first glance, because there's a lot of rails that you end up having to hit multiple things, and so you're constantly moving your arms. I got it. This is the first time I've instantly bought something like right away for a long time, because usually I'm very patient with games. I'll wait for a while, but I do like the VR rhythm games, and they had Muse on here. So I'm like, my spouse and I, we both really like Muse, and we're like, yeah, for sure, let's get it. And so we got they had like an ultimate set or something that had all the DLC for a reasonable price. I think it was like less than $60, and it had quite a bit of DLC. So we hadn't bought the whole thing right there, and we've had a really good time with it. That's going to be my number 4, but with the caveat of it's that plus. um, the other rhythm games. So like Beat Saber and Pistol Whip.
Mm,
Those I kind of combine those into just one thing, because we'll dabble in one for a bit, and then just jump to the other, and jump to the like between all the different musics you have, and it's fun to just switch up game styles. But we play those quite often, so I highly recommend, if you have VR, give it a shot if you like if you missed stuff like old DDR days. But yeah, Synth Rider came out this year, but that Pistol Whip and Beat Saber, all awesome. Had and that's all I got to say about that.
yeah, I mean, Beat Saber, or rather, Synth Rider and Beat Saber 2 definitely seem like games that make me want to play VR. They make me like I don't know, something about Synth Rider makes me think of DDR back in the day, and just kind of the idea of being able to kind of exercise a little bit while also entertaining your lizard brain, and kind of watching people play that. It definitely seems really cool. Like, I know I'd suck at it at the beginning, but putting on the headset every day and kind of getting practice with it um, looked pretty cool. And I definitely hope I can try it at some point in the future whenever I can get VR.
My in-laws bought a PS4 Pro and the VR just for Beat Saber.
Whoa.
Yeah, they played it, and then they got hooked, and they really it was funny, because they're like, yeah, we really want to play it. And they did it, I think it was in the spring or whatever, and like this is like maybe 2 years ago, in like May time frame or something. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, I was like, just like, that's a lot of money to put down. And
System
eventually
seller.
I kind
Wow.
of talked them back to waiting till Christmas time. And then when Christmas came around, there was a good deal on the Pro, and then there was a bundle with the VR, so it came with a couple of games, and one of those games was Beat Saber. And they got so they had it all for a bit cheaper than they would have normally, and yeah, they really do like it. So
Wow. I mean, that's what would that be like at the time? Was that like $900 they were about to spend?
yeah, something like that. I think I got it for like 700 or something like that for them. So
Yeah, that was probably on some kind of sale too. Dang,
yeah,
that
well, this was all like Black Friday ish around that time. So I just ordered everything off my credit card, and they just paid me back later.
wow.
So
That's amazing that it would be that cool to them that they would just jump in feet first, you know.
yeah, like it is, but it's Beat Saber is such a great game, and those games are really something. I mean, Synth Rider has this thing where they certain songs, they'll have their own special level where it immerses you completely, and it's not just your normal like run of the mill level. You have all these crazy trippy things in the background. yeah, it is like a drug trip or something like that. It's just like, what the hell? And then Beat Saber, they've continued to do updates. They now have on the PlayStation, at least they have 3 lanes for some of the songs. So you'll have the one in front of you, but you'll have also 45 degrees to the left and the right. So it's a lot of fun. Totally. Pistol Whip is quite a bit different in that sense because but it's still a really good rhythm game. That one works your legs like nobody's business though, because you're
Mm.
constantly moving and dodging. So because of that, next thing you realize you did like 1,000 micro squats, and now your thighs are on fire.
I
You
feel
don't
like you're
realize it at the
burning.
time, but then the moment you put away your headset, you're like, oh, I feel like jelly. So yeah, shout out to a lot of those fun rhythm games. But if you have PC, something like the Oculus Quest or something like that, that's when those games really shine because you can like Beat Saber, you can do custom songs. So you can just find them on YouTube. You'll watch people do pretty much any song you want, and they'll also customize the Beat Sabers, the
That's
actual
cool.
instead of the lightsabers themselves. I recently saw one with I think it was a song called Tuna, and this person's it was a VTuber character model, but they had their sabers as two giant like mackerel tuna, like holding by
Of
the
course.
tails, and
Yeah.
it was so stupid, but it was so funny, and I enjoyed watching that a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
that definitely seems to have sort of a like a karaoke aspect to it that you could do. You could kind of like if people who are kind of good at it, you can kind of have a house party and have like a little party games thing where you do that, and that I think that'd be pretty fun to do.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things that if you want to impress people with VR, there you go. And everyone knows what a lightsaber is and stuff. Or like Synth Rider is super easy because you're holding. It's essentially your fist just has to bump into the nodes, but then that one's really good with the rhythm and music. I think it hits a good stride on that one. Um, so yeah, Pistol Whip is a bit more technical. It's a little more difficult to get the beat right. So it's a little more challenging in that aspect, and that's why I think why I like it too. But yeah, they're all solid games,
Cool.
and yeah, that's I would say all that is the genre as a whole. My number four.
With Synth Rider leading the wave.
Yeah, well, as the most recent iteration for sure.
I see.
As so next year they'll come out with some other rhythm game that I'm going to be super stoked on too.
Okay, that's good. I hope so. So kind of going on to, I guess my number three now. I hesitate to put this one in here. It was released this year, but it is a remaster, remaster, and that's Near Replicant. Um, this is a game that originally came out in what 2010, something like that. Um, so as I talked about the other Near already, I guess I have a thing for Near, but I actually played Near Automata first, and then I played Near Replicant, which is I guess you wouldn't call it a prequel, but the one before Near Automata, um, and I might put it higher on the list, um, like maybe at number two, but it is a remaster, so I'm kind of hesitant because it sort of technically didn't come out this year. But the
Okay.
reason why it's on the list is because the story in it is really great. Um, the characters are fantastic. It's pretty hard for me to think of a better crew. Like the the cast of characters, you as the protagonist, and then the people that you're with, and kind of how they are fleshed out as characters. It's They're just really great. They're just fantastic. They're all different. They feel real. They feel like they have their own hopes and dreams and aspirations and strengths and weaknesses. And it's just really a joy to kind of go through the world with them. And then this game also has is fully voice acted, which is apparently one of the things that the upgrades that they did from the old game. The old game was not voice acted all the way. Um,
No,
and
and it's a really awesome thing. Like all the NPCs, everything is, and that's amazing.
yeah, I was gonna point that out. Yeah, like that the NPCs, like just some random asshole that you talk to on the street, who doesn't even give you a quest or anything. He's voice acted, and he's and it's passable. It's not like that guy's gonna win an Oscar, but the fact they did it in the first place is amazing. Um, they really did a lot of upgrades to. I mean, it still looks like a PlayStation 3 game. I got to be honest, but it's a very good looking PlayStation 3 game. The music, I don't know if they did much for the music, but the music, I guess, stands the test of time. I can say that it's fantastic, and of course the story, kind of the vignettes that you run through. The main storyline is good, but a lot of the side stuff that you end up getting into has that near weirdness that we've come to know and love from Near Automata, and there's just a lot of really weird stories in the game that kind of make you go, "I'm not playing just a regular game. Playing something that somebody put more thought into, and I don't know, kind of somebody that thinks about games a little bit on a little bit different level." But yeah, it was a great game. I put about 30 hours into it. I got through, I think, two of the endings. I still have to get through the last ending, which is you have to get all of the weapons, which isn't too hard, but it's gonna take another 10 hours at least. And I just don't know if I can do that. We'll see. There's a lot to play in this upcoming year, but I definitely enjoyed the 30 hours that I put into it. And yeah, so that's my number three game of the year, Near Replicant.
All right, I'm gonna take this time to take a quick break. I have to answer my child. So,
Okay, cool. We'll be back in just a second.
all right, and we're back. So, hey, my number three now for game of the year. All right, so for me, there's a couple games that technically are 2020 games, but due to them coming either late in the year or when I was able to get them from the library or whatnot. So uh, this one is going to be the top three. Once again, they're all kind of interchangeable. I like them all a lot. So this one's going to be Marvel Spider-Man's Miles Morales. I believe that came out November of 2020.
Mm.
So it just shortly before this year started, but I didn't get to play it until this year itself, and that was a phenomenal little game. I mean, it's its own standalone, and it had Marvel Spider-Man was also a phenomenal game, but they actually made it better. They tweaked the visuals. Some of the a lot of the gameplay is similar. So is more of what I wanted. And the story was super fun. I really enjoy it, and I'm really excited for whatever next game they end up making in this franchise because yeah, it really was just a good time. I from front to back, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. So
Is that from the
I
same
yeah.
the same people that made the Spider-Man game, or is it?
Yeah, it's Marvel Spider-Man and Miles Morales. It's all the same team. It's Insomniac, if I remember correctly.
Okay, cool.
Um, so yeah, they the same guys who I believe Insomniac are the ones who did Infamous. Um, so I really like they do good open world games.
Yeah, they do
Um,
because they did
and
the
I've always
Batman,
liked everything they've done.
because they did the Arkham stuff, and those. I mean, depending on how
Did
you
they?
wait, I'm thinking of, yeah, because
That was wasn't that like something not Turtle Rock, something Rock.
there was there was
I-
there was a one before the the Arkham, the one that they don't claim was done by somebody separate, but I'm pretty sure you said Insomniac.
yeah,
Pretty sure Insomniac did Batman, did the Arkham games before they jumped over to Spider-Man, because that was kind of the big thing back when that was all being discussed.
Okay, because Rocksteady Studios is the one who did the
Oh,
Arkham Knights
wait,
and stuff like that.
so they didn't do Spider-Man, so it was Rocksteady and they didn't do Spider-Man.
No, Insomniac did
Wow.
Spider-Man.
Okay, I'm thinking.
Rocksteady did the Batman games.
Well, okay. Well, it's neither here nor there. I was just wondering what they've done in the intervening time. Well, I'm confused. Um, Never mind.
Rocksteady's a very good developer, but they've been on break for a bit. They did that Suicide, or they're going to be doing a Suicide Squad one. Um, but yeah, they've done the Batman ones, and they've been quiet for a while.
Yeah,
Is
they have.
what I remember. They might have made something, and I um just didn't get around to it. I only played the first two Batman games, so I never did play the
Well,
last one.
anyway, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, so it's fine.
But yeah, so no, but Insomniac, they made web swinging a lot of fun gadgets. Um, I know three people who all played the Spider-Man game, and we all played it differently, just because the combat was so flexible that way. A good buddy of mine, very heavy into the gadgets, used a lot of the extra like little drones and stuff like that. I almost never used any of those. So I was more of a combo, melee combat focused stuff like that. And my spouse played differently from me too. So yeah, it's just you really have your own style in that one. The story was a lot of fun, and because this one was like it was kind of a little standalone DLC kind of thing. It was shorter, but it was like I think it was like perfect length. Um, didn't need to be too long. Had a really good time with it, and uh, yeah, that's like I said, it came out in 20. I think it came out in 2020. So, but I didn't get to play it until early 2021. So, yeah,
That's
that's my number three.
It's really good when games, especially that are that big and fancy, that you and your friends all play them differently. It really
Yeah.
puts your signature on the game and shows kind of how dynamic it is, and what a good job that the developers did.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
So you're number two, man.
so number two, another one that kind of snuck in, um, Halo Infinite. Uh, I didn't play any of the multiplayer, but I do want to do that here soon. Um, and But really the campaign, kind of open world Halo, and I only played probably, I don't know, um, probably 7 or 8 hours of it. But kind of just going around and shooting stuff up, having fun. Um, it's just a really well made shooter, uh, and kind of takes me back. It really feels like what I remember Halo 3 feeling like. I mean, it just popped right in there, and I was like, dang, this, which I hadn't played a Halo since Halo 3. Just popping in there and just being like, dang, this is just like the good old days, but, up-resed um, and all that stuff. I knew exactly what the guns did immediately, and they all felt fantastic. Um, just being able to run around and kind of hit a base, finish up that thing, and then go to another spot immediately thereafter, checkpoints and stuff like that. You'd think it'd be kind of overplayed, and maybe to people who play a lot of Ubisoft games, it is. But I thought they handled it well. Nothing takes too long. Everything is the right amount of time. And honestly, I didn't really look up anything about this game before I started playing it. So whenever I figured out that it was, open world, I was like, oh, dang, this is pretty cool. Because it starts out, with you just on some missions, and then they finally drop you into the world. And it's just like, there you go, man. Have at it. And it's good. It's just really good, old school Halo, and I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna try to get back to the campaign I finished that up. I shouldn't have too much more, but I have been kind of noodling around, so I might have to beeline it for the end. But overall, uh, not really a surprise, but kind of surprised that it's this high on my list. Halo Infinite number two.
Oh, that's yeah, especially coming from the fact that Halo, you kind of stepped away from Halo for a while,
Yeah,
so
for a
uh,
long while.
so yeah, that's cool that they're good, they're polished enough to make you that invested in it.
Yeah.
So for me, my number two is going to be a game that came out recently, and I happened to power through the entire game. In fact, I just finished it last night,
Oh
and
yeah.
that'd be yeah, I finished it last night, and I platinumed it today,
Dang.
like a couple hours ago. It's and that would be Guardians of the Galaxy. I got around to playing that. I really enjoyed the story. The story is something else. Um, they have so much dialogue in that it's kind of crazy. They have quite a bit of banter, almost to the point of being annoying. But there's quite a bit of different dialogue. It's during the combat that they may repeat themselves quite often, but outside of combat, heck, even in combat, they'll still have a lot of funny things. And yeah, it's just uh, there's the combat for me felt a little easy and a little empty, but the story completely makes up for it. Uh, there are so many small choices you can make. There's all these just side banter. You can choose to ignore a lot of it actually, if you want to. But when you go back to the ship, or even when you're on the missions, sometimes there'll be a dialogue speech bubble above their head, so you can interact with them and get more flavor out of it. You can pick up like lore items and collectibles, and certain collectibles will be dedicated to their it's certain members of your crew. And so you'll find something that's for Drax or something like that, and then you go back to his crew quarters later, and you go to a room, you pick up the object, and then he'll engage in conversation with you, and you'll get more backstory about those characters. Um, this essentially, having played the whole thing, it's more or less they aren't galaxy saving heroes. This is like their own origin story, um, and they've more or less recently recruited Drax and Gamora on their team, and so I think Gamora's been with them for less than a year. Is kind of the idea of how this, as far as them knowing each other. So in the beginning, it's very much lot of hate between them, and then they just bond really well together. And it does. If you're a fan of the movies, if you're a fan of the comic books, you're going to be a fan of this, no doubt. It's very much done in the same vein, but the story is different, which is wonderful because I've seen the movies. I don't need to have that same story told to me again. It's not. I don't need to know that Uncle Ben dies. Something. It's like I don't need
Yeah.
that Spider-Man origin story again. That's actually why the Spider-Man game was super awesome because he's adult. You didn't in the first. That's and so in this it's a different origin story. So if you saw the movie, you're like, yeah, I already know how Peter Quill, Star Lord, how he gets to space. No, you don't, because this one's different. Um, he his his bit is different. So that's the whole game. Had one of the best stories. I played last year.
Yeah. It sounds like.
Not
Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, go on. Oh yeah, not the best because it's not my number one, but I'm picking it as my number two because it was a lot of fun. It was a really good game.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like they really nailed the. I mean, honestly, kind of talking about Near Replicant, and then this game, it sounds like they nailed the crew to really make them mesh as characters. Because if you don't have those characters working together well, uh, in a believable way that is also entertaining, then the game probably wouldn't be that good, would it?
No, it's they do a good job about making them feel real, I guess is the best way to put it, because they're all comic book characters. Uh, but they do a good job about what makes them angry, what makes them tick, and how they start to bond over time. It's the way they refer to each other. Drex will constantly be insulting Gamora, calling her like the assassin or this and that, and he'll insult Rocket by calling him, like. essentially something like a fur monster or something like that. Like he But as time goes and he realizes these people are actually good crewmen, and they're not necessarily marked by their past. And so his attitude, the way he talks to him, or the way they treat each other, all meshes. Uh, the story is really good. It's a lot longer than I expected, that's for sure, though. Like, I got to a point where, like, oh, you should be wrapping up soon. Oh, wait, there is a second half. Are they going to drop the ball? No, they're actually carrying it pretty good. Like, they've, there are some parts, maybe they like a chapter or something they could have cut out, but I'm glad they still had it there. I still had a good time. There wasn't, uh, like I said, the combat was the only part that I found a little lacking, but you can adjust it to make it easier if you just want to speed through the combat. There's so many customization options. Um, you can boost your own health and shields. You can make your damage output stronger. You can make the enemies weaker. So if you do have a hard time, or you just want to plow through it, you can. I kept everything default with the exception of my companions. You have like a Mass Effect um, pause, or like the Knights of the Old Republic pause menu, where you can then command them to use their special abilities for your partners. And what happens is when you're engaging in that wheel or the command prompt, time slows down. You can have it. You can change it either way. So you can have it say, "I don't want any time to slow down. I want it to be real time combat," or you can do just the opposite. And that's what I did, is I made the whole world pause, which
Mm.
granted probably made it way easier, but it gave me that feel of playing an old BioWare game, which I actually really liked, which made me instantly like the combat that much better. The only thing I
Ah.
wish I had was, I wish I was able to tell which crew members to attack what monster, with just normal, or like, hey, I want you to defend or back off. I wish I could have a little more control almost. Um, and I almost wish that I really like the fact that you only play as Star Lord. But part of me wishes you could switch around, because I think it'd be awesome to have like multiplayer. That I think playing with a buddy would be super fun. Um, and maybe doing like something like combination attacks or something that would have been really cool. But honestly, this game took me by surprise because I didn't actually know anything about it. I saw that demo, or like the original trailer, and those monsters were stupid generic. A
Yeah.
gel cube with spikes in it, a tiger like body monster with like a face of a squid or something like that. It was like, okay, it looked like it was nothing impressive. Later on you fight human, or like, humanoid monster, people, and Nova Core and stuff like that. So you have different variety, but I'm not there for the combat. I was totally there for the story, and it did not disappoint. I really didn't. Yeah, like I said, I did all the trophies for the PlayStation. Uh, there's a couple combat ones that I don't look at the trophies ahead of time, or at least I try not to, because I've learned the hard way that sometimes if you look at them, you get spoilers.
Yeah.
So, uh,
Yeah, you gotta be careful with
yeah,
that.
I'm looking at BioShock. BioShock had
Yeah.
a big one.
Oh.
It was like I was like, "Oh, wow. Holy crap." Okay, and so ever since BioShock, I learned my lesson. Don't look at that stuff. I usually try to beat the game first, or what I'll do is I'll look at it and be like, "Is there anything that's super tedious? Can you go, like." So then for me, the only thing I did is I saw a collectibles guide, and I'm like, "Okay, I'll do the collectibles." And I followed a guide for that. Um and I'm glad I did too, because, well, you got a lot of articles, and those articles are okay, but it's like I said, those special items that you get for your crew members, and then you can talk to them, and it fills out their backstory a whole lot more, and that was really interesting. I found that to be just entertaining as hell. Um, and they gave you some choices. I don't know how much they actually affect you. Like, I don't think anything's like make or break, but some of the choices I made uh, could have probably been better, and it might have made things easier for me had I chose a different dialogue. The only problem when it comes to things like that is sometimes they're timed, and so by the time I'm a bit of a slow reader, and also it's one of those panic moments where also you have a choice, and your timer's ticking down, and you're like, I'm reading this one, and I'm this one. Oh shoot, trying to process. Okay, I'm gonna hit this one. I did not choose right.
Yeah.
um, but honestly, it's a good game. If you're remotely interested in the story, and you like those kind of games, or if you like the movie, just go ahead and pick it up, give it a shot. You'll know right away if you don't like it. But I got this from the library, and it was just there on the shelf, and I'm like, you know what, I really didn't have high hopes, but I was just really curious because I do like the movies.
Yeah, I was gonna ask,
Yeah.
is that would you say this is the biggest surprise of the year for you?
For me personally, yes.
Okay.
Um, because once again, I didn't follow any, I didn't listen to anyone else who, I'm coming to a little later than others. But I've been so busy lately that I'm about a month behind on all my listening podcasts.
Mm,
And I haven't really had much time to look at anything. So I didn't know any reviews about it. The last thing I knew about it was that original or not original, but the gameplay trailer that showed like 10-15 minutes of it, and I was like, that part, like I said, the combat looked boring, but they showed like choosing to throw a rocket across a chasm, and then so you're like, yeah, do it, and then he does it, and then it pops up saying like, essentially rocket will remember this, uh, the Walking Dead Telltale style or something like that. They have these little prompts coming up like, so of course I chose not to throw him, and it goes, Rocket appreciates you standing up for him or something. I'm like, oh, that makes me feel better.
that's kind of cute. That's
So
kind of
yeah,
funny.
it's they nail the characters, their attitudes, how they, stuff like that, and uh, my solid number two.
Nice. Awesome, man. Okay, well, I guess all that leaves for me is my number one game of the year for me, and that is Metroid Dread. Um, it's kind of a running theme, I guess, through a lot of the games that I've chosen this year, and that's kind of this purity of gameplay. Uh, all of the games that I really liked this year had that. Forza, it's just kind of pure racing. Um, and Halo is, you know, kind of a pure old school first person shooter. And Metroid Dread is kind of the culmination um, of that kind of pure gameplay aspect of it. More than the other games, you know, Metroid is one of those games that you you start out weak and then you progress and you become strong. The other games don't. I mean, I guess Nier kind of does that, and Eastward a little bit, but it's not really the same because they sort of just give you what you need for the time being, and they don't ever show you, hey, you suck, you know. But Metroid, because it's a Metroid game, um, that's what it does. It goes, oh, you want to get in here? Oh, too bad. You're not ready yet. So it teases you in that Metroid style. And it just feels good to play. Like it just controls really well. The gun, like the laser gun, the beam arm, feels good to shoot all the time. The controls, and people complained about the controls being a little bit, the layout being a little bit wonky. Um, and if I was going to knock it for something, I would say, yeah, that would be one of the things. Um, but it doesn't take that much to get used to, because I was able to get used to it. And it's just, it's just a good game all the way through. Uh, if I was going to knock it for a couple things, I would say the controller layout is a little bit weird, but I don't know how else you would do it. Um, and then it's a little bit linear. I would say the ways that you can go are limited. But
It's a
there,
Metroid game though, man. That's what it does what Metroid does.
yeah, but I mean, like you can sequence break it, though. I think the sequence breaking and kind of the stuff like the old school Metroid is a little bit fewer and further between. Um, so like I would kind of knock it for that, though. It didn't really bother me. But as far as like just pure gameplay and like kind of that, you know that feeling you get when you've been playing a game and then you put it down and then you're thinking about it later. I think Metroid fits into that category best of like, dang, I just want to get back and fucking get through that thing and just get to the next thing and wait. I think I remember now that I'm thinking about it, I could do this in here now that I have this weapon. Um, so it was just a really great experience for that. I did have to look up a couple things. I got lost twice through my own stupidity, and then the final boss, I definitely had to look up because I was not going to get that on my own. But really, just an all around awesome game, the right length, and everything about it just felt great. And yeah, so that's definitely my number one game is Metroid Dread.
Wow, that surprised me. I mean, had I had to guess coming into today, I would have guessed that you would have went with something like Eastward above Dread because you were you liked Dread. You know, like I felt the energy that came off you was solid, but I didn't expect it to be that much. So, like I felt like you came in way hotter and like excited about, you know, Eastward or something like that. And so turns out Eastward was a lot lower and Dread like way higher. So that's actually really something.
Yeah, I mean, like once the games are kind of marinated, Eastward was just it was just the problems with it were just too glaring because it kind of just doesn't really respect your time. And Metroid Dread, that's one of the probably the main things I should say about it is it's like it's just it respects your time so well. It's like this is what you're doing right now, and it's really cool and it's really fun, and you're done with that and on to the next thing, and it never really drags. Just great all the way through.
Well, that's awesome. Okay.
All right.
So for me, um, my number one is a game that technically came out in 2020, but it also re-released in 2021, and that's going to be Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Mm,
Uh, I played the crap out of this game. I unfortunately did not get around to beating it because that's a long ass game,
yeah.
but oh my goodness, it is fun as hell. Um, so much, just so much Yakuza. So I've always been in this franchise. I have the original games that came out on the PS2. Um, I own I own all the original releases except for the zombie one, which was like three, something I can't remember what it was, but yeah. So I own like the first two were PS2 games, and then it's like the rest were on PS3 and PS4. So uh, I this franchise I've always stuck with. You know, and it's huge. It's funny. They do all the crazy right things in this game. For those of you who don't know anything about it, uh, the Yakuza franchise is usually like a 3D beat 'em up. You walk around in the city. Think of it like your Streets of Rage or something like that, but in a 3D realm, and you're literally a Yakuza guy coming up the ranks. And it has a great soap opera drama story. It's like completely over the top. It's cheesy as hell, but it's awesome. They change it up with Like a Dragon, where they actually made it a turn-based game. So it's more like an old RPG, and they literally reference Dragon Quest, and they have so many stupid fun things in that. It's hilarious. Um, you're it's a wild ride is what it is. So if you ever it's safe to jump in on this one. So if you're like, well, I heard a lot of good things about it, but I just it's so late in the franchise. I mean, oh, this is its own thing. You can totally jump in. You don't have to know anything about any of the other Yakuza games. But if you wanted the beat 'em up style, go with Zero. Yakuza Zero is the best place to start. Equally super crazy, super awesome. These games are chock full of humor, great story, uh, but be prepared to have a lot. So if to put your time into the game, if you want your dollar value for your time, these games can't go wrong with. They most definitely you'll put the hours in. So unfortunately, I don't know if I'll ever get around to beating this game. I'll just have to stop everything because they have so many side quests, side missions, other things. Um, I started watching a bunch. Like they have these, you can go to a movie theater and watch movies, and then you'll see they have all these like janky B-rate movies that are like knockoffs of like the Terminator or something like that, and uh, you don't actually see the movie, but you're hearing the dialogue and you're watching your character's face, and then you're seeing the text of the dialogue on the screen, and you're trying to fight going to sleep. So like I can't fall asleep during this movie, and once you like and if you succeed in your in the mini game is what it is. It's just a mini game. You end up getting extra stat boosts, and you can do other things to boost your stats. You can go to a cram school essentially and take these extra courses to boost different stats and all this just
Uh,
tons and tons of garbage. But it's so fun to do. And your whole crew is just crazy. It is it is the best waste of time. I love that game so much. It is really great. Granted, like I said, a lot of people have already talked about this back in 2020. I didn't get around to playing it till this year. So it's I'm very glad I did. I wish I had more time to finish it, but at least even I think I played like 20-30 hours into it or something like that. So
it's a good chunk.
um yeah, it's really, and I feel I have a bit more, but you can get sidetracked by doing all sorts of silly things, and totally worth your time. Um, and they're going to be making more of these.
Yeah.
It's been confirmed, so
Yeah, like I definitely
yeah,
want to jump in on some of the next ones. I did play a little bit of Yakuza 0 this year, but I had to move on from it. It is an amazing game. Even in the little bit I've played, I could tell it's just everything you said, just the fighting, the over the top story, the mini games, it's all there and it's all so perfect. But I do want to play. I don't want to jump in on this one that you're talking about, but the next time there is another one, I'm going to make it a point to play it because they're just too good to pass up.
oh yeah, totally. So yeah, I really most definitely anyone who's ever interested, especially since like I said, this one was so iffy because it was turn based, but they pull it off excellent. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. So yeah, that would be my number one game for the year. And man, we had some weird lists for you and I. Very
Yeah,
different.
yeah, very different, but definitely good on all aspects. And I think that there'd be a lot more crossover if we played some of the same games, but just definitely a very different smattering. And we'll probably
Yeah.
have a little bit more. Our Venn diagrams will touch a little bit more next year, I think.
Yeah, and it's honestly going to be thanks to Game Pass is a huge part of it
Oh
because
yeah,
at least we're guaranteed to get those games, right off the bat. And yeah, it's I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, you get that, you get yourself a PlayStation 5. Um,
fingers
Chances
crossed.
are, what I'll end up playing if it comes out on those games come out on the PS4, I'll probably play it on that, even though it's the inferior, slower system. But so long as I can get the gist of it, I think I'll be all right because like Guardians was just fine. Um, Cyberpunk, it was
Uh,
Cyberpunk. It was just as good as anywhere else. It was just flaming trash.
yeah, that gave it a lot of problems. We'll see. We'll see what
All
CD
right.
Project Red comes out with next year.
Yeah, for sure. Well, they're just gonna be fixing stuff.
Yeah.
I hope the rumors about the Witcher 3 multiplayer are true because um I would like to I don't I own Witcher 1 and 2, but I haven't beaten either one of them. And I'm like, Witcher 3, I really wanted to get in on that. But if they make it multiplayer, then I might actually play. So,
There's, it's always tomorrow.
yeah, right. Put off to tomorrow what you can do today.
Yeah, really.
So, all right. Well, thank you guys for listening to our another Dead Pixels game of the years, and we uh, we really do appreciate your time today. We hope you guys had a good year in gaming, and we look forward to the next year of all the good games coming out.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Looking forward to another great year.
All right, take it easy.
See you guys.